Okay, thank you, Enrique, for this nice introduction. And thanks to the organization also, a big thanks for giving me the opportunity to present my work here today under the form of a keynote lecture. And indeed, when I got the invitation, I thought, well, let's try to have an appealing title. And I started with electricity is in the catalyst. Referring to, well, or making maybe even the audience wonder, like, how will the electricity be in there? Will it be about electrocatalysis? Well, I think being in this session and having read the abstract, probably you know that that will not be the case. The electricity will be in the catalyst in order to generate the heat required for the chemical reaction in there. And indeed, chemical reactions quite often come with heat effects. It can deal with, am I too close or? Closer. Or even closer, okay, let's see. Heat effects for chemical reactions can either be related to endothermicity of the reaction or exothermicity. Of course, quite some can also be electroneutral. But thinking of some examples, thermal cracking, dehydrogenation, reforming reactions as endothermic reactions, and for exothermic reactions, methanol synthesis, Fischer-Tropsch oxidations, and quite a variety. The corresponding reactors have been designed accordingly in order to deal properly with the heat requirements of the chemical reactors. For endothermic reactions, well, we see the development of furnaces in which relatively narrow tubes are suspended in order to get the heat in and drive the reaction. And quite often we enter a heat transfer limited regime in there. Whereas for exothermic reactions, well, the typical workhorse or atypical workhorse reactor is a multi-tubular reactor in which the tubes are suspended, are immersed in a boiling liquid in order to have good heat transfer. Today, making use of electricity for heat, well, that relates to endothermic reactions and bringing in the heat as efficiently as possible. Because quite often, for endothermic reactions, the reactor design is focused, in fact, on heat transfer. It's not necessarily a design for the chemical reaction, but it's a design on getting the heat into the reactor. And as of today, conventionally, this is done by making use of a reactor with narrow tubes and a fired furnace, such that you have a quite pronounced temperature gradients. You have high temperatures in the furnace. Then you need a proper material, a proper tube material, which can withstand such high temperatures. And all this to drive a reaction which, for a large extent of the reactor tube, is in fact occurring at much lower temperatures. So this sets the scene and sets the challenge of what we want to achieve. We are aiming at having a better heat transfer, at enhancing the heat transfer, and also in aiming alongside having a faster response of the temperature of the system to requested temperature changes. So after this introduction, I will first, in the first part, focus on the efficient heating. How can we enhance the efficiency of heating and how can we make use of electrification for that? And the ultimate reactor type, so that's a spoiler alert, so it has nothing to do with the mental magician of yesterday, so you have the answer already here. We will come to the electrothermal fluidized bed reactor. And this is a reactor type which we are making use of in several processes, in several projects, which aim at the development of novel processes such as Equaduct and Obi-Wan. But first on the efficiency of heating. And well, when talking about chemistry, the relation or the comparison with cooking is typically not that far. So when we first started cooking, well, this was more or less how it was done. And that's, well, how we sometimes still do it today on holiday when we go camping potentially, or when making a barbecue. We cook the heat like that. But, well, you can see that this is far from the most efficient way in getting the heat of the fire into the food to cook it. A first improvement is building a furnace around the heat such that you can better contain it and direct it to the place where you need it. But still, so you see the chimney here, a lot of heat is getting lost through the chimney. So as a next step comes electrification, and well, I think we all know these types of plates for having the cooking. But still, you can wonder, well, can't we even do better than that? Because, well, we do make use of electricity. The heat transfer area is optimized, but, well, can't we do something smarter? And, well, thanks to electricity, indeed we can. And I think we all know a microwave in order to get via microwaves heat the system from the inside. Also, induction is a possibility, particularly if you ensure that you put, for example, if it is for heating water, you put some salt in it, such that the heating actually occurs from the inside, and that the heat transfer does not have to go physically through the contact of the pot with the plate, but that you can actually heat from the inside. And that's an opportunity brought about by electricity, by electrical heating. And here you can see in this cartoon how, thanks to electrification, the design scale, which is in the original design, which is situated in reactors at and where the limitations occur on the scale of centimeters, where when making use of electricity for heating, the limiting phenomenon becomes the transfer of the reagents from the bulk to the catalyst and inside the catalyst, and vice versa. So like that, the limiting phenomenon is not the heat transfer anymore at the centimeter or even the meter scale of the furnace and of the reactor where the reaction is performed, but the limiting phenomenon occurs at a much smaller scale and can be much better contained, namely at the millimeter scale of the catalyst that is used in there. And that leads to advantages in terms of energy efficiency, process control, safety and maintenance, and also rapid heating. So a short overview of the various possibilities. So induction is one methodology essentially relying on magnetism and on alternating magnetic fields in order to generate heat in properly positioned material. And material with the right properties in order to receive those electromagnetic, the impact of the changes of the electromagnetic field. Microwave is another technology that can be used by generating microwaves and sending it through the material. Now, a potential downside with microwave technology, and again in relation with cooking, well, I think most also have experienced already if the food is not having the proper conductive materials or the conductive properties, you have some hot spots and cold spots. So having an evenly distributed heating will quite significantly depend on the properties of the system you need to heat. And then there is joule heating, maybe the most conventional way of using electricity in order to generate heat, where you make use of the resistive properties of the material, conductive and resistive properties at the same time, in order to generate the necessary heat. Other possibilities, but a bit more exotic still in this stage, are sonication and plasma. But I also understood from the roundtable discussion yesterday that there is a kind of agreement that joule heating, as of today, has reached the higher TRL So in order for looking present day at process implementations, joule heating is the one, the technology, the choice which has been made. And this is something which we apply in what is called an electrothermal fluidized bed reactor. You see a picture of it here. I will show a movie of it in a minute. So it's a fluidized bed, but of course it's not intensively fluidized because you still keep on needing a continuous contact in order to have the electrical current flowing. But thanks to the fluidization, well, the heat that is generated is quite properly distributed in the bed. And well, you can see a reference here. It is a reactor type which stems or which originates from the production of carbon material for battery applications. So that's where the origin of the reactor type is situated, and where now we aim at implementing it, at using such a kind of reactor for chemical conversion reactions. So this should bring me to the movie. So like this you get an idea on how the fluidization goes. So you see the bubbles getting through, ensuring that the bed still remains a continuous phase, so to ensure that there is a current between an electrode at the side, an outer electrode, and the center electrode. So and you see how high temperatures in such a reactor system can effectively be reached, so quite useful for highly endothermic reactions. Fine. So how are we making use of that reactor now for processes, for projects that we are investigating? The first one is the Ecoduct project, which is a European project that I am coordinating, focusing on fast response, and the fast response has to do with the heating. A reactor technology for CO2 reduction, and in fact at the same time, simultaneously with the CO2 reduction, also mitigate hydrogen sulfide emissions. So the project combines the partners which you can see listed over here. And how is it positioned? So it is right now, as a starting point, it is positioned in the area of refining, where within a present-day refinery, quite some off-streams are generated containing either CO2 and or H2S. The way to mitigate those effluent streams today is not by treating them individually, but by first mixing them, by bringing them all together, and then have some central separation facilities in order to have one large CO2 stream, one large H2S stream. The CO2, which can then be further purified and, well, unfortunately, as of today, to a large extent, being emitted. Whereas the hydrogen sulfide, of course, cannot be emitted. It needs to be captured, and it holds economic value because the hydrogen sulfide is converted into elemental sulfur, which is a feedstock for the industry, mainly for sulfuric acid production. What is the purpose or what is the target, the ambition of the Ecoduct project? Well, the ambition is not to require this separation anymore, but to have a simultaneous treatment of carbon dioxide and H2S, so two of the chemicals, two of the gases we want to get rid of, that as of today still needed to be separated and then to be treated separately. Now the aim of the Ecoduct project and of the process is to treat them simultaneously, and how to do that I will explain in a minute. What will come out, or what is intended to come out of an ecoduct process is carbon monoxide, which is then an interesting starting building block for further conversion, and thanks to hydrogen import, we can make methanol and fuels out of it. The same as with the Klaus unit, also elemental sulfur is one of the end products of the ecoduct process. So how does that go? Well, we start from CO2 that in a first step is converted into carbonyl sulfide. So it's not the most benign component, but that's why it is only an intermediate which should live for a short time in the process. And this conversion of CO2 into carbonyl sulfide is done thanks to the presence of H2S, and then water is formed at the same time over a reactant adsorbent material based on including acid sites. So we will make use of a zeolite for that. The carbonyl sulfide then needs to be decomposed, and and you see the two end products which we aim at. You see them already here: the carbon monoxide and the sulfur. The carbon monoxide can then be further converted into sustainable products. And it is this carbonyl sulfide decomposition step, which is a step where we can efficiently make use of the electrothermal fluidized bed reactor in order to convert the carbonyl sulfide fully and quite selectively into carbon monoxide and sulfur. So this gives the entire process overview. So the original intended feedstock is coming from industry, refining waste, but other kind of off-gases can potentially also be treated with it. In a first step, we have the synthesis of the carbonyl sulfide, which then, making use of the electrothermal fluidized bed reactor, is further converted into carbon monoxide that can be used for the production of low-carbon fuels and products and marketable sulfur. The idea of using electricity is, of course, to relate it to renewable electricity, and that's also where the fast response aspect is coming in order to be able to respond to differences in availability of the electricity. And that's also a particular part of the project which we are investigating, which we are assessing. That is how to deal with the variability of the electricity. So how to deal with the capacity of the process. What capacity will you design it, and at what capacity will we run it during most of the time. A bit more detail on the various steps. So the carbonyl sulfide synthesis occurs in a transient manner, and we are making use of sodium X zeolites for that, or that's what we are developing. And the people working on that are the group from Valentin in Caen. Together with the people from Saint-Gobain, who are also here in the room. So the zeolite material not only acts as a catalyst for the conversion, but it will also act as a capture for the water, such that the equilibrium reaction which we have here, that the equilibrium can be pulled to the right and have an efficient conversion. Well, that's something which, of course, is still in progress of development. So here you see an example result of a transient experiment where we started with an empty bed. So it takes about half an hour before the first components start coming out, and the first one to come out is CO2. Which, until there is nothing else, is weakly adsorbed on the catalyst. From the moment there is also H2S and some carbonyl sulfide is being formed carbon dioxide is being pushed out of the catalyst bed, and that is why we see this roll up occurring over here. The second component to appear is the carbonyl sulfide, which is being formed. To then, when the bed is getting completely saturated with, or when it's gradually getting saturated with H2S and water, we see in the first instance H2S also coming out. And if we would run it for even a longer time, we would also see water coming out of the system. So this is the result of a kinetic investigation. This will, of course, and this will help in determining which range, until what time we will run the system before it will then need to be regenerated in order not to have, of course, an H2S, a significant H2S slip. But this is something which is still ongoing right now. The involvement of Ghent University, of course, in the project is in the modeling, as you may have expected. So this is some work of one of my PhD students, Raman Ghassemi, who managed quite well to capture that transient behavior. And thanks to this kind of modeling, we can then have an idea of how surface concentrations, and the one I picked here was the hydrogen sulfide concentration, how those evolve as a function of the time. So you see at the start of the reaction, the bed is completely empty. There is no H2S adsorbed yet. And as time progresses, you see how the hydrogen sulfide is getting through the bed and is absorbing more and more. But you see at very long times and at the start of the bed, the color is again becoming a bit more, well, less dense. It's a bit less pronounced, which is an indication of water, which is starting to take the place of H2S on the surface. So, and like this, with the modeling, we can get an idea of how we get a picture of how the situation on the catalyst surface is evolving. The second step is then the carbonyl sulfide decomposition occurring in the electrothermal fluidized bed reactor. And in there, well, you have seen the picture. So the carbonyl sulfide decomposition occurs to carbon monoxide and sulfur. This at temperatures in the range of 800 to 1200 degrees Celsius, with the heat generated by the Joule effect. This part of the project is being done in Slovenia in a collaboration between the National Institute of Chemistry with Miha Grlic and Blaž Likozar on the one hand, and Keynote, a Center of Excellence, with Igor Shlyapinkinov, who is also here at the conference. So the challenges there are related to constructing the material, making it sufficiently resistant against the chemicals that are being used, the carbonyl sulfide and so on. But right now we are there in a situation where a green light has been given to actually build a demonstration plant, which should be up and running in about 1 year from now. Also on the ETFB reactor, we are doing some modeling, and there we have to account for different zones. So on the one hand, there is the zone which we denoted as a coaxial zone. On the other hand, there is a zone that we denoted as the end-to-end zone for how the current is flowing from the outer electrode to the center electrode, of course preserving a sufficient distance in order not to have short circuiting. And simulation results there lead to temperature profiles which look like this, and that indicate that we can expect quite a proper conversion to be obtained in the entire reactor. The project, the EcoDuct project, is strongly driven by Total Energies, who is one of the core partners with an interest also in commercialization, of course. The valorization roadmap, as it is envisaged, is that well, we have a setup ready, situated at TRL 6 and being located in Slovenia by the end of 2025. And well, the ambition is to evolve towards a spread out technology about 10 years after, to have the technology widely adopted throughout Europe. We will see how realistic that, of course, will be, but the ambitions are set high. A second project I still wanted to briefly talk about is the Obi-Wan project, which is a recently approved interregional project around biogas upcycling. So, as an interregional project, it is fostering collaboration between Flanders, Wallonie, and the north of France region. And this gives an overview of the various partners that will be involved. And when thinking of biogas, which is essentially a mixture of methane and carbon dioxide, we can valorize it calorifically, but of course that, as with any stream, is the lowest possible value to valorize it. So better try to make chemicals and, as of today, sustainable aviation fuels from it. And as a source of biogas, well, there can be various kinds of bio-waste, but also the sludge from wastewater treatment plants. And I truly believe that that is a very interesting source of biological materials, because I think that this is one of the few sources of which the density will increase with the population density. So typically the availability of biomass is inversely related to population density, but the sludge coming from a wastewater treatment plant, that is a feedstock from which the availability will increase with the population density. So that's why I think that that is a particularly interesting feedstock to look at. And our region being a quite densely populated region, there is quite some potential in there. So also here we will work towards an entire process, which in the first instance will lead or will require a proper digestion of the waste and the target composition to reach, and that should be rather realistic, even if it is a bit on the optimistic side of having of ratio of methane versus carbon dioxide, but that should be realistic. And there the partners of the Université La Salle and Université de Compiègne will be focusing on. The mixture for further treatment here will be separated into CO2 and methane. The methane will then need to be converted into hydrogen, so we will extract the hydrogen from the methane, and of course then what will happen with the carbon is the question which I will address in a minute. Having extracted the hydrogen, we can use it to hydrogenate the CO2 into methanol, which can then be further converted into, which is a proper platform chemical and can be further converted into the desired chemicals. To produce hydrogen from methane, there are various possibilities, various opportunities. Steam methane reforming, dry reforming of methane, partial oxidation, or methane pyrolysis. Now, given the presence of the CO2 in the biogas already, given the stoichiometric target that has been set, in fact, the hydrogen contained in the methane is just sufficient to hydrogenate the CO2 which is in the biogas. So to that extent, producing more CO2 is not of an added benefit on the scale of the Obi-Wan project. And that is why the methane pyrolysis has been the method of choice to focus on. When it comes to the endothermicity, it is the least endothermic of the endothermic variants. It doesn't have greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, you have solid carbon, which can be captured, but which is a manner of at least not emitting the carbon as carbon dioxide. The hydrogen which can come out of methane pyrolysis can be quite pure. And when it comes to a potential catalyst, typically for methane pyrolysis, when making use of a catalyst, it can be cheap and will be easily sulfur resistant. So that is then how the Obi-Wan project the layout it will have. So the hydrogen production will be done by methane pyrolysis, also in an electrothermal fluidized bed reactor. With carbon as a side product, which we then can consider as sequestered carbon. And this project, so here I cannot give some sneak preview of results yet, because it is to start later this year. Well, this slowly brings me to the conclusions, opportunities and perspectives of the work. So looking at electrification for chemical reactors, I think there is a benefit or the potential benefit brought about by the electricity is to put it in the catalyst. So making use of electricity to drive chemical reactors is not just putting a heater in the plug and heating the reactor in the same way as it was done before by making use of a gas-fired furnace. No, when you reason from the inside, really from the inside of the reactor, from the inside of the catalyst, there are opportunities to generate the heat there where you need it, and like that make use of simpler reactor construction materials, for example, which is quite a benefit when you think of thermal cracking furnaces, for example. The electrothermal fluidized bed reactor was the methodology of choice so far for the projects we are looking at, because it is making use of the Joule heating effect, which has the highest TRL at this time for the time being. So the opportunities which we see in it and for which we are applying the electrothermal fluidized bed reactor is essentially for endothermic reactions, reactions focused on the simultaneous reduction of carbon dioxide with hydrogen sulfide abatement, the biogas valorization into sustainable aviation fuels, but of course that is not where it has to stop. It can proceed quite far. Challenges, and well, I didn't discuss that yet, but typically when developing new technologies in an area such as the chemical industry, it is always a question whether there will be few implementations at a large scale, or whether there will be many small-scale applications spread over the world, over the globe. The renewable electricity availability is of course also an important challenge on how to manage and how to operate the reactor, and a potential impact on the chemistry is of course also not to be ignored. I want to acknowledge of course the funding bodies. The Ecoduct is a Horizon Europe grant. Obi-Wan is an Interreg project. Of course, I want to thank once more the organizers for organizing this conference and giving us the opportunity to spend a week in Lyon. And these are two group pictures of the people from the Laboratory for Chemical Technology that are represented here at the conference. And then this is how I make them deliver the proper work, such that I can come here to present them. with the ones that contributed most indicated here in boldface. So Jeroen Lauwaard, Surush Zare are postdoc and an assistant professor, and the 2 PhD students working on the Ecoduct project are Klaus and Raman. And with this, I want to thank you for your kind attention, and I will be happy to take any questions.